Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 2CTV, your global news channel. We have some breaking news coming from the Middle East, specifically in Syria, as the civil conflict between the Islamist supporters of Jolani's government and the Druze and Christians in the southwest of the country has been escalating over the last few hours. We have a lot of videos to show you from on the ground in Syria. The Israeli Defense Forces, with a request coming from the Druze community in the south of Syria, went in, destroyed a lot of the Syrian regime, of course, military equipment and the armored cars, tanks and everything else that they had. A lot of airstrikes. Jolani's government has been begging Israel to stop. There is now, as we speak, right now, officially speaking, there is a bit of a ceasefire between Israel and Syria. But on the ground, the clashes continue. We're going to show you all the videos. Before we start, if you have the 2CTV app, and if you have 2CTV Plus membership, we've literally just dropped our latest special interview, this time with my good friend Winston Marshall, a former member of the Mumford & Sons music band, who's now turned into a very professional and outspoken podcaster. Make sure to watch that by becoming a member of 2CTV Plus by going on 2c.tv. You get 1 month free membership if you join as an annual member. Now, let's talk about Syria. Let's give you guys the first video that we have. Earlier on, last night, the IDF started some of the operation against the Syrian regime and against essentially the ISIS Al-Qaeda Islamists who've been going around targeting innocent civilians, Druze and Christians, and anybody basically that's not a supporter of their Sunni extremism. The Israeli Air Force started the operation first against the Syrian army in Suwaida. Let's go to that video. Insane. This is how it started, and this is when, shortly after this, Jolani's regime knew in Damascus that this is going to escalate because, as I mentioned yesterday on the channel, there was an arrangement. When Jolani came into power, the Israelis told him, leave the Druze alone in the southwest, just leave them, don't send any of your minions to go and attack them, and then we'll have the buffer zone between Israel and Syria. And he said, okay. And then some of his supporters went in there and started attacking people. Then the Druze hit back because they want self-determination. They want their own freedom. Then Jolani sent in his regime forces. And obviously, since then, everything's been completely kicking off on the ground. Let's go to the next video. This is Jolani's government's, the first moment actually asking for the ceasefire. That aside, the Druze successfully ambushed Jolani's regime forces in Suwaida. Watch.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
So, following this, then we started getting the update that Jolani himself initially condemned the Israeli airstrikes. Then he started actually asking the Israelis to stop, and he promised to withdraw his forces and all the tanks from Al-Suwaida in the southwest. Now, moving your tanks is one thing. Getting your actual terrorist supporters and actual terrorists on the ground, still attacking innocent people, that escalated more things. As I said, I have the next video actually showing in a much more accurate way when the Druze successfully ambushed the Nutters. F around and find out. Completely stuck. Oopsie, oopsie, they got stuck, they got ambushed. Oh, what a shame. What an absolute shame. Now they are the victims. Now that they're losing, of course, this is genocide. This is genocide by the Druze against the Sunni terrorists. Obviously, that's the narrative that's going to continue now. Having said that, Jolani, well, as I said, he basically said his government removed the armored vehicles, a lot of them, and the tanks, because the reality was he didn't want them to get destroyed by the Israeli Air Force jets. Some of his actual so-called soldiers, as part of the government, the military of Israel, Syria, were still on the ground, and the IDF, well, the IAF started hitting him again. They had to all run away, despite the fact that they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. Watch this. Idiots.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Stop saying that. It's so annoying. I don't think at this point Allah is going to help you. But so they all had to run away eventually. It's interesting how the propaganda, the social media propaganda of Jolani supporters, you know, they're still there. So the guy filming him, a lot of them filming on their phones while wearing the press vest or whatever, saying, "Oh, we are journalists." They had to stand there while the rest of the soldiers came towards them. Like, they're not going to go in there. They're not that brave. But as this was happening, we have the Druze community as a tribe, as an ethnic group. They are in a number of places because some of them can't really stay in the southern parts of Syria. Historically, been attacked a lot. Some of them are in Israel. Obviously, they're Druze Israelis anyway. And some of them are in Lebanon. Now, those in Lebanon also decided to stand up. The Druze in Lebanon were trying their best to find a way to enter Syria via Lebanon because they wanted to get involved with the whole thing, even though the official advice was just stay where you are. It's not worth it. But the Lebanese said, we are coming.
حق السويدة وحق شهدائنا الغاليين ولا نقطع نسبكم يا جماعة الشعب كنتم مليارين شبابنا راحوا بقدر بثار وحق النشامة للنشامة ترى من تنفيذ دقت طول الحرب ما ضل فيها أعمار ولع المشنقة لا تشوفوهم معلقين يحرم علينا ندق
Basically saying it's our duty to go and liberate our people against tyranny.
ويحرم علينا اللبس ثياب الأعطان ويحرم علينا إن الفرح درب مرشيد ويحرم.
So that happened, and then on the ground in Soweto. So we have to remember the name of the place because this is the key area in the southwest. Al Soweto was supposed to be left alone. The Druze were there. There's a lot of other people there, civilians in Syria, some of the Christians. When the chaos started, over the last couple of days especially, and today, when the Israelis were already hitting the outside part because they just wanted to make sure none of the Syrian armed forces are going to get even close to Soweto, some of the airstrikes had to be inside the city anyway and in the region. On the ground, on the streets, the whole thing turned into, as I call it, the Wild West, with absolutely no rules of engagement. Watch this. Insane. Stop saying that. At this point, I'm fairly convinced that when it comes to the Islamic world, the nutters and the terrorists running around continue to shout Allahu Akbar. I think it's just turned into a Tourette's. They just have all Tourette's. With absolutely no context. They just shout Allahu Akbar. Nothing to do with anything. It's not going to help you at that point anyway. But so you keep hearing it. Whether they're winning, you hear it. Whether they're losing, you hear it. Whether they're dead, you hear it. Then this is yet another video from Soweto where the Druze fighters successfully set a trap for al-Jolani's Sunni terrorists when the regime forces entered Suwaida. This is actually quite interesting in terms of the way they did this as well. I don't know if we can actually show, we can actually see, because I did see from one angle, but I think we can see, relatively speaking, the ambush. Because they're all on the main road. The overly confident al-Jolani forces continue to use the main roads to go in with the armored vehicles and everything else. The ambush kept happening from all around them, from inside of buildings, behind cars on the ground, and they kept getting surprised. A similar thing happened yesterday. How stupid do you have to be to continue to make the same mistake? If you're going to go on the main road, then have some sort of plan to have some sort of motorcade or something. And no, every single time there's a small group of them, like one tank, one vehicle or something, and it gets ambushed. Well, amateurs, absolute idiots. Anyway, these people are evil anyway. These guys, the Sunni al-Jolani supporters, have been going around. One of the things that they do is they violently shave the traditional mustaches of the Druze. And this is just symbolic, obviously. Whether they are alive or dead, even with a dead body, they still grab the head and shave the mustache. And it's kind of ironic that it would seem to normal people out there, well, do they have a problem with facial hair? Have you seen their own faces? It's just the traditional symbolic moustache of the Druze that they have a problem with. They are absolutely evil. Let me just quickly show you this. That shows what they do to innocent Druze Syrians.
طلع السلاح وما بدناش منك شيء.
اقول لك بمالي
حلق له.
Look at that.
سردينات طلع لمين هدول؟
في سردينات عندك.
Evil.
ايوه ليونس هذول.
جيبون.
This is what's coming to the West, by the way. This is exactly what you're getting now in Western Europe, in North America, and any sort of governments, the so-called civilized democracies, that don't vet people's backgrounds. And a lot of these people will come in pretending to be innocent, lovely refugees and asylum seekers. And this is this level of the sort of culture that you're bringing in to the Western world. Then they started making other videos, singing and bragging about the fact that, I quote, I translate what I'm about to show you. They basically say, there are no mustaches left, Suwaida, blah, 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 we're coming for you. This is the Islamist fighters when earlier today, when they were taking control of Suwaida, but of course that they did lose control over most of it as we speak now, and then we're going to talk about the Druze celebrating. This is the idiot saying there are no mustaches left, Suwaida.
ما ضل شارب يا سويدة وما ضل شروال ما ضل شارب يا سويدة وما ضل شروال.
Yeah, little bit of a psycho, but that aside, the Israelis didn't stop here. Of course, the Israeli fighter jets, the Air Force in general, released another footage of the airstrikes on the Syrian army vehicles, which we can actually quickly show you. These were targeted attacks again, mostly just outside of Suwaida, on the outskirts, when the Syrian regime armed forces were trying to enter the city, and as usual, the idiots were just using the main roads without any protection, one by one, being taken out by the Israelis. Of course, the Israelis promised and vowed to protect the innocent civilians in the neighboring, of course, border in Syria, the Druze and the Christians and everybody else. But what were you expecting? For Israel not to do anything? They don't want that trouble to get closer and closer to their border anyway. Now, several of because we talked about the Lebanese Druze, the Druze in Lebanon that were finding a way to enter Syria from Lebanon. That was a bit of a problem for everybody, including the Lebanese government. We also had some Israeli Druze who also decided to cross the border, go into southern Syria. They had to be arrested by the IDF and they were forced to return to Israel because like, whoa, what are you doing? The whole point of the IDF having an operation in Syria is so that the Israeli Druze don't randomly risk their own lives by going into southern Syria. That just becomes, this is just basically vigilante mentality. Anyway, this is the moment the Israeli Druze got arrested by the Israeli Defense Forces. The thing is, it's absolutely natural to see the passion from the, obviously the Israelis who are obviously who are Druze, and one of the things that they do care about is because they know, just like the rest of Israel and the Israeli government, if this problem reaches the actual Israeli border and Israel, then there are also innocent Druze who are in Israel. Obviously, the Israeli government and the Israeli armed forces, the defense forces are able to keep them safe. But if you're a normal person, you're like, well, I've got to go. I'm gonna have to go fight. So this is where things are completely kicked off. The next footage is actually from again the Israeli Druze civilians crossing the border into Syria to show solidarity, obviously, and then the IDF had to chase them down. They had to chase them down. Let's just go quickly. Do we have the next footage from this? Unfortunately, we don't have that one. Oh no, it's fine. We'll show you the next bit because that one would just basically show them running away from the IDF. But we can actually show you the actual Druze forces appearing to celebrate finally as they took back control of Suwaida in the southwest of Syria.
تم تحرير السويدة بالكامل بإذن الله. تم تحرير السويدة. حيهم النشامة. حيهم النشامة. دبوا على العرصفات. ليك قناص طاقة. حقوا صرمه. سويدة خالصة. حيهم النشامة.
We're getting some breaking news.
حيهم بني معروف. حيهم.
Al Arabiya is now reporting that the clashes have now resumed again in Suwaida, despite the so-called ceasefire. Now, of course, the rest of the international community don't really care about the civilians in Syria, whether they are Druze or just Christian or whatever they are. None of these people care. They only selectively care about humanitarian crises. They only selectively care about conflicts or civil wars. It's only the Israelis that care enough, for obvious reasons, to go and protect them and also protect themselves long term. The Kurds, having said that, the Kurds in Syria, the SDF, they also decided to kick off. Go on, Kurds. In the middle of all this, by the way, they are now officially on high alert and they are mobilizing their forces. They weren't supposed to. Al-Jolani basically had an agreement. But again, this is the fault of the Sunni crazies in Syria who support Al-Jolani, who started this. Now, of course, the Kurds on the other side of Syria are saying, well, if everyone's kicking off, maybe we can guarantee and reassure ourselves that we could actually have our own independence as well. Let's go to the Kurds in Syria, SDF. Quite a lot of them. It's quite a fair few. It's not a small gathering, is it? Oopsie. Oh, they are ready. Oh, they are still going. Why is that car there? Now imagine if you're a random person just driving on that road. You'll be stuck in the middle of all that. So yeah, these are the SDF fighters on behalf of the Kurds in Syria who are also getting ready. The rest of it, and not just in Suwaida, but also outside in other parts, in the southern parts of Syria. The whole thing has turned into a massive mess as we speak. The latest video from a couple of hours ago.
يجينا حدا من هون بس.
To be fair, it's a largely peaceful civil war. Largely peaceful. Just give up.
ميليشيا الهجرة والآن شاهين في الأجواء للمطاردة لعند دخول المصفحات لردع ميليشيا الهجرة. الوضع بخير. الشاهين صار بالأجواء والشباب هلا بقدروا.
I will shortly go to the live chat because I just saw a super chat. I'll address it in a couple of minutes. Somebody said, do you see Jolani being ousted? I'm going to give you my own theory about what could happen to him if he's not careful. And there could be potentially a twist. It might not be from the anti-Jolani side. Could be his own people. His former supporters might get a little bit angry. But once again, the jihadi fighters of the Syrian regime supporters decided to drive right into another trap that was laid by the Druze in Suwaida. The whole thing has been a complete mess for the Sunnis. Let's go to this video. Watch, wait for it, wait. Look at the cars, look at the people on the cars. And get ready. Run! Run! We're like, oh no, we effed around, we're about to find out, run! It seems like they don't actually really want to become martyrs. Maybe they don't really want to get to their 72 virgins because they're all terrified, like, run! Leave the cars! Now, just to remind you of how evil these people are in Syria, the jihadists. This is a voice note on a message, I don't know, WhatsApp or whatever, from one of the jihadists. We have English subtitles. I'm just going to show you. This is the level of evil nonsense you get from these evil people. Listen, well, watch and listen.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رسالة لأبنائنا وأخوتنا الأبطال بالسويدة، الجيش العربي السوري والأمن العام. إن رجاء كبير عندكم، ضب هواتفكم بجيوبكم، لا تسحب هاتف ولا تصور وتبعت لنا، لا تصور وانت عم تحلق لي الشارع بعرصة، طق رقبته على السكت، ولا تمشوا في ارتال. الله يحميكم، الطيران الإسرائيلي عم يستهدفكم، سياراتكم بين البيوت ضمن الأهالي، فوتوا على البيوت وتحصنوا بالبيوت واحرقوا الأخضر واليابس، لا تستثني حدا، كلهم خنازير. بس الهواتف نسيتوا صار معكم مع اخوتكم بالساحل، في كثير منهم بعدهم بسجل لهلا، اطفئ هاتفك بترجاك.
Okay, so in his defense, that guy, all he was saying, apart from the phone thing, because they didn't have phones in the 7th century, the rest of the the instruction that was given to whoever he was giving it to, he basically got it from the book, from their own book, from the 7th century. That's what it says. These are the teachings of the Islamic ideology. Go in, burn everything, do it quick, because they're all pigs. Everything. Also, pigs are cute. Leave the pigs alone. Everything in terms of that rhetoric that he had, you could read the whole thing in the book. So those who say, oh, what's wrong with these people? Well, they read the book and they agreed with the book and they are just exercising it. That's it. The only thing that they don't seem to actually be exercising is that they still seem to be quite terrified of death. They don't actually want to be martyrs. They run away like crazy nutters. So that's what's going on. Evil does what evil does evil. So anyway, that aside, there was a couple of points in the live chat. We just got the breaking news, as I said a couple of minutes ago, that the clashes have resumed now in the southwest of Syria, which we'll get to shortly. A couple of super chats. How much Druze have? I mean, how many have weapons for defense? Well, some of them, a lot of them do have now, especially over the last few months. To be fair, not as much as the Kurds, the SDF fighters, the Kurdish side, but some of them have now been armed, so they can technically defend themselves. But without the Israeli Defense Forces, they will be slaughtered. Islamism should be officially recognized as a legitimate sociopathic disorder. Toddy says, Maya, this is it, that's the comment I mentioned. Do you see Jolani being ousted? So the way it's going, again, for the record, I have to always repeat myself. I don't do official predictions or speculations because you never know. My instinct says, at this point, if things continue, Jolani is trying to keep everybody happy. He's trying to keep the international community happy, right? The West, the EU. He's also trying to keep the Arab world happy, Saudi Arabia, and also Israel. So, because he wants to get involved with the Abraham Accords. So he's officially still saying, I didn't do anything. Some people, which is basically his supporters, have started causing chaos. Then he says, Jolani's government says, well, the Druze in the south started attacking. So we had to send our regime forces, the army of Syria, to go and basically be a referee to stop both sides. That's the official line from Syrian government, which is a bit of a problem for Jolani when it comes to his own supporters, or at least former supporters. It might not be the Arab world, including Saudi Arabia, pushing him out. It might not be even Israel. Israel will punish them, but that's it. It might not even be Israel pushing him out, because actually it might be a bit of a gamble for Israel to get rid of Jolani, despite everything. Because if Jolani goes, the Shias, which is basically the IRGC supporters, might come back to Syria. You don't want that either. It's a bit of a lose-lose situation, right? So it's probably not in the interest of Israel to do anything either, which means his own supporters, the same Sunni jihadists, might get angry at the fact that Jolani is trying to pretend to be like, this suit and a tie, shaking hands with the Israelis and the EU and the Saudis. They might go for him. You never know. So that's more likely than, for example, him being ousted by the Druze or by the Kurds or anything like that, because the official army under the control of Jolani in Damascus is quite strong. We've just released there we go. We've just released another video. I'm just going to quickly show this to you guys before continuing with the comments. These are the clashes. Oh dear. This is again in Aswaida. As we speak, this just came out a few minutes ago. This is actually a big shout out to, I believe this is from the open source intel, not from our sources. I've just been given the link. Let me just quickly show you what I haven't actually seen it myself, so let's just see it together. This just shows the clashes resuming. Oh dear. Well, something's burning. Yeah, we'll find out more about that to see exactly where it is and what exactly. Well, we can hear the gunshots, obviously, but in terms of everything else, damages. Right, so quickly go back to the members of 2CTV Plus. Let's just read a couple of them. Will Ezra from Rebel News be joining? There will be a number of surprise guests as well, which we'll announce later for the new media conference, 9th of August in London. I'm thinking about changing my name to Chris P. Bacon to cause trouble. Alan should be rich by now with all these promotions. Alan Snack Bar, yeah, that's a good one. Love that. Please stop blowing up the weapon caches Assad's left. I need them to hit you. Hit who? Pork says you can put a suit on salami, but it doesn't change what it is. I was just about to say poor Jolani, but I don't think anybody should ever say poor Jolani. Salami. Lisa says, I hope you are well rested because yesterday you look so tired. I pray for your family, you and your family's safety. God bless. Thank you very much, Lisa. I feel a little bit better, but I still got bags under my eyes. This is what happens when you don't sleep. Jews' lives, what? President over an agreement with Syrian regime. Where is all this weaponry come from? Israel, probably. I don't know. Like the Nazis, it cut sides. Yeah, okay. Thanks for covering the side ignored by the mainstream media. It's to be fair, despite what I always say, that we are the media, why is the media not covering this story or that story? They tend to eventually cover certain things or they're late or whatever. A couple of things has been going on recently. One has been the ongoing anti-IRGC attacks in Iran, not been reported. The other thing has been what's been going on in Syria over the last day or two, especially the last day or two, which has been escalating. And today, right now, as we speak, nothing. No proper coverage, no proper investigation reporting from any of the major global channels, but you know, it's not in their interest, I guess. It's not sexy enough for the mainstream media. The IDF will go down in history. Something. The Alan Snack Bar and his mostly peaceful civil war. Mostly peaceful. Susan says the video of the Jolani gangs humiliating the Druze by cutting their mustaches is heartbreaking, mimicking scenes from National Socialist Germany. Yeah. Yeah, didn't David Lammy, the UK Foreign Secretary, or the Fat W, send Jolani a lot of money? Yeah, but again, this is why Jolani is under even more pressure. He's getting all the money. He knows if he wants to stay in power, he's going to have to do something about the instability. Even if he, deep inside, agrees with the jihadists, he can't really condone that sort of behavior publicly. Thank you for being here for us, and we appreciate you very, very much. And remember, wherever you go in this world, you will be loved. Please stay safe and keep your family safe. Thank you so much, Mr. Rainbow Loves Coffee. Love the name. Should we get a couple of non-super chats? I don't forget about you guys, don't worry. What's happening? We've got more updates. When have we ever migrated to you, or the Chinese, or the blacks, or the Mexicans? This is the most out of context comment in the history of comments. You don't migrate to people, you migrate to lands. Also, blacks, that's just a skin color. It's not like one country. At least the Chinese make sense, Mexican, blacks is not a thing. It's not like a country called Blackistan. That would be weird. Yeah, anyway. The mainstream media don't care if they can't blame Israel, and will actively avoid stuff that makes Israel look good. I think that's a very good point, by the way. God bless Israel and the Druze. Yeah, this is a key point because they know the reality on the ground is that when innocent civilian Syrians asked Israel to help them because nobody else is helping them, and Israel said, okay, I'm going to help you, it's going to make Israel look good if the media reports. So they're not going to do that. Obviously, they're not going to do that. Now, South Black Africa. My favorite is still Blackistan. If you're gonna have a country called something after black people, Blackistan, Black Africa, great. Let's see if anyone else will come up with a better name for that. Crazy. What was that comment about anyway? What about Mexicans? Well, they have Mexico. Leave them alone. Blackistan. Still laughing at my own joke. Anyway, I need to take a break. I'm dying. This is the end of the world. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on in Syria and in the Middle East as usual. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as I said, we've just dropped our latest interview on 2CTV Plus, an interview with Winston Marshall, former member of the Mumford & Sons band who was cancelled and is now turned into a podcaster. Definitely check out that interview by downloading the 2CTV app, obviously, the home of geopolitical news, but primarily by becoming a member of 2CTV Plus by going on 2c.tv. You get 1 month free if you join as an annual subscriber. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.